This is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Corey provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles.
Hello and welcome back to Financially Fit Radio. My name is Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're on our website, feel free to click on that radio page. You can check out some past shows and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Also, feel free to visit our YouTube page by typing in Safe Harbor Retirement Group to watch videos on different financial topics. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions or if you want to set up a face-to-face or virtual meeting. And remember, all meetings are complimentary with no obligation. Well, today we're going to talk about something I think is a pretty hot topic in the financial industry. And that is, are we in a recession or is a recession coming? But more importantly, what we want to talk about is how can you recession-proof your retirement savings? So I think it's a great topic to kind of get into. It's something that is on everybody's mind. But before we kind of dive into that topic, let me introduce to you my co-host this week and every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show, Corey. It's great to be here. I've had a good week. I'm excited about this topic because a lot of folks are talking about it. And, the Fed once again raised those interest rates 0.25%. And so I don't know, though, if we can rely on the Fed to keep us out of a recession, Corey. So we need to talk about this. That's for sure. I mean, some people are saying they're going to drive us into a recession because they say they're going to keep raising interest rates. Others say they're not sure. Maybe they'll keep us from one. But I think, we're either in one or we're close. So we need to understand how to plan for that. Now, Corey, how have you been? You've been busy there, I assume, this time of year. People are thinking about taxes and their finances.
Yeah. This is the first quarter is always a busy year here, at Safe Harbor. And there's a combination of things. I think a lot of people, it's a brand new year. They kind of want to, create a little financial resolution to get some things done or maybe some estate planning done. So that's always a popular thing. We have a lot of people that are retiring, usually the first quarter as well. And it is tax time, or, tax time's right around the corner. So that's something that, a lot of people are going to be thinking about. But yeah, it's a busy time of the year. You and I were talking a little bit before the show about how I was able to pick some sticks in my yard up over the weekend. And, you're probably a few months away from being able to do that up in Minnesota.
I've got about 2 to 3 feet of snow in my yard still up here in Minnesota. I'm the remote host right now. I'm in Minnesota, and wow, I saw a picture of your backyard, and I saw green grass, and I'm like, wow, I'm surprised you're not out golfing. But you said, yeah, the 30s it's still not warm enough for me to golf.
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, it's 3 feet of snow. It's going to have to get a lot warmer before that's even going to start to melt. So we're looking at probably a month and a half, 2 months yet before I'll even be able to see my lawn enough to pick up sticks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got outside. That's good. We haven't been, with the polar vortex. My wife and I are like, we got to get outside. We got to get active, take the dog for walks, but you couldn't even go outside for a while here.
Oh, yeah. As cold as it was. And, as I said, it was like almost a 50-degree day, when I was actually out there able to pick some sticks up. So,
wow.
It's kind of nice. It was kind of nice just to actually get outside and do a little yard work to get out of the house more than anything else, too. So.
Yeah. So what about the recession? What are you going to talk to us about today? help our listeners understand this, how they can plan for this.
Well, one of the things I think that everyone should kind of do before, we'll talk about some of the key things that you should do, but, really the first thing is don't panic.
Right.
If you're younger, this is just going to be like another storm that you're going to have to weather, as for your long term. Where it gets a little bit more complicated, Tony, is if you're nearing retirement or if you are in retirement, right? The first thing people want to do is move everything maybe into something safer. And, first of all, you have to kind of look at what did you do in 2022? We all know everybody lost money that was invested in the market, whether it was in bonds or stocks or anything like that. But the one thing you can't do is just do like a panic type sell. So, hopefully you have a long-term plan. If you're working with an advisor like myself, hopefully we already have you allocated the correct way. So not everything actually took the hit in 2022. And, can the market go up or down from where we are today? I mean, who knows? Right now, for the first part of, for January, the market had a great January, up about 7% for the month. If you look at the S&P 500, and who knows what it's going to look like. Are we, the jobs report came out, which is kind of has that fear now, with everyone thinking about it, because the jobs reports was so good, does that mean the Fed's going to keep raising interest rates? So there's a lot of things going on with that. But the first thing I would, do is don't panic. Now, what's probably the most common question that I get right now, Tony, and this question is this, should I keep actually contributing to my 401k? I get this every time I meet with clients that are working, because it seems like the only thing I'm doing is putting money into it and it's going down. Well, here's the one thing. The main thing is you have to save. That's the first part.
You have to be saving for retirement and for your future.
That is correct. So you have to be saving. Now, the nice part about it is, by contributing to your 401k is, yes, you're putting money into it. That's the nice part. And the other nice part is you're buying low.
Yeah, that's the key, right? People think, oh, man, the market was down last year. Should I be putting more money into that account, into a market that's down? Yeah, now is the time to put money into it.
Exactly right.
But people usually do the opposite.
This is the time. You're exactly right. This is the time to actually start buying. And if your company's matching, then you're buying a little bit more at a discount. Is it how it does not feel good when you look at your quarterly statement and it's still going negative, especially in 2022 with you making your contributions. But in the long term, it's going to end up paying off. So
yeah, and it depends on your time horizon. But if you have time, especially, you want to keep putting in. That's a dollar cost averaging in. If you consistently put in, the market will go up, the market will go down. But history has shown by doing that, you end up ahead. Compounding interest helps you win.
Yeah, and let's face it, if you're still worried about a recession coming in your portfolio, let's just say you're 50% stocks, and say you're balanced. You're 50% stocks, 50% bonds. If you're a little worried about it, maybe cut back a little bit by going to 40% stocks. 60% bonds, but you don't want to go 100% out of the market. Because the one thing you don't want to do is lose some of the biggest days, when the market does kind of rebound as well. So you can decrease your stock exposure, if that's something that you want to do, if you're a little bit worried about. But hopefully you're allocated the correct way already within your risk. And, for our listeners out there, if you kind of want to know what your risk level should be, you can go out to our website at safeharboroh.com. You can actually find out, there's 11 questions. You can take a quick quiz in order to determine what your risk level should be. But, if you come back with a risk level of, say, 50, that just basically says about 50% of your money should be in stocks, 50% should be in bonds. And then you can kind of go in and look at your overall portfolio to see if you're kind of matched over that. So, it's something that you definitely want to be able to look at. Right now is a great time to do it. Not only is it the beginning of the year, but who knows what's going to be coming forward here in the short term here with the market. Another thing that I think a lot of people should be doing too is when you kind of look at your assets, you kind of want to use what we call like a bucket approach, Tony.
Yep.
And really what I'm kind of talking about is you should have some investments that are for short term, maybe mid-term, and then maybe long term. So that short term might be 1 to 2 years, mid-term might be like, 3 to 5, 3 to 6 years, and then your long term is going to be, 7 years plus. And the reason why I say that is your short term should be a little bit less risky. Your midterm might be just a tad more, and then of course you're going to have some growth type of things as well. So if you use that bucket approach, I think long term you're going to be in a better situation. We use that philosophy here at Safe Harbor, and really one of the reasons why we use that bucket approach is that short term stuff. If you're retired, that's where we want your money to come out of. In order to pay, make that monthly income. So just because the market drops 20% does not mean that short-term portfolio is going to drop that much as well. So
right.
I think a bucket approach is a great really way to be able to do that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy, and I'm glad you explained it for our listeners because that makes perfect sense. You don't want to be pulling money out of the market at the wrong time, or it'll significantly decrease your funds, and you'll lose that compounding interest because of the sequence of returns is so important, and you've talked about that on the show. And if our listeners have questions about this, I know they can get a hold of you. Let's take a quick break here, and Corey, before we do, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you and set up a consultation or ask any questions. There's no cost or obligation if they want to set up an initial consultation.
Yeah, for our listeners out there, you can always give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can always visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And again, when you visit our website or you call in, you can schedule a complimentary no obligation meeting with us. And here's all I'll say. We preach about this all the time on the show, and that is, if you don't have a financial plan today, you need to have one tomorrow. We're there we can put one in place for you. And if you do have one, there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion, a second set of eyes, just to make sure you're going to be on track to have the retirement that you want. Again, our phone number here is 614-760-0670, or just visit us online at safeharboroh.com.
All right, and we're going to be right back with more of Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles after this.
Hello and welcome back to Financially Fit Radio. My name is Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're on our website, click on that radio page. You can check out some past shows and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Also, feel free to visit our YouTube page by typing in Safe Harbor Retirement Group to watch videos on different financial topics. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us with questions or if you want to set up a face-to-face or virtual meeting. And remember, all meetings are complimentary with no obligation. Well, Tony, we've really been talking about ways to recession-proof your retirement savings or your retirement plan in general. And one of the next things I kind of want to talk about too is, when the market is down, a good thing to consider, and this is where, you need to talk with an advisor before you do this, or you need to also, seek out a CPA to make sure that you're doing it the right way too. And that is maybe consider a Roth conversion. And really what we're talking about is taking some of your IRA money that you have and moving that into a Roth account. Or an IRA Roth account. Now,
sure,
when you do that, you're going to have to pay taxes on that conversion, right? But the most important part about all this is that your IRA or your new Roth IRA is going to grow tax-free for as long as you live. So it can set you up long-term for a better situation, from an income standpoint, because you're not going to pay any taxes. But more importantly, I think another reason why to kind of think about this right now is, if your portfolio's down, let's say your portfolio's down 10 to 12% since the beginning of 2022, you pay your taxes on it. When it comes back to the same principal amount that you have, it's now going to be tax-free. So it's a great way to be able to kind of plan for the future in order to create some tax-free income when the time comes.
Well, and I like the sound of the words tax-free. I mean, I think that makes a huge difference, and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of their retirement accounts are going to be taxed when they start trying to pull money out in retirement, when they need that money. So, again, with the bucket strategy, you need a tax-free bucket for some income in retirement, right?
Oh, yes. You definitely need some tax. I mean, everybody wants to be in a situation where you have some type of tax-free money. You don't want to be in a situation where everything's going to be taxed for as long as you live. And I think that's why it's really important to work with an advisor, because we're going to kind of take that in consideration. Is, not only today's income, but what your income going to look like 10, 15, 20 years from now too. And especially from a tax standpoint. Are taxes going to go lower in retirement? Odds are they're not. And, the number one thing I always hear, Tony, is, well, I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket when I retire. And I can tell you this, 80 to 90% of my clients are still in the same tax bracket when they retire as they were working. So that in most situations, that's not the case. Now, in some cases, it does make sense, but that's why it's so important to work with an advisor. We're going to be able to look today as well as long term to be able to put you in a diversification, not only from an allocation standpoint, but from a tax standpoint. It's so important to not be in a situation where 100% of your retirement is going to be taxed.
Right. Yeah, you want that tax-free money, and you want to minimize your tax burden as much as possible. And I know a lot of people are thinking about taxes this time of year, but instead of just looking back at the last year, Corey, you need to be looking ahead like you're talking about to minimize your tax burden in the future, especially in retirement when you're on a fixed income.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I think more people really need to pay more attention about creating tax-free income for retirement, and we're really here to help and guide you to kind of make sure that does happen as you kind of go through your retirement years. So I think another good thing for our listeners out there to think about, and that is when we start talking about a recession, really what you're kind of talking about also is you're kind of worried about losing money in the market.
Right.
So one of the things I think a lot of our listeners should really think about, Tony, and that is, maybe does it make sense to put money in a deferred annuity, right? And an annuity can be used a couple different ways, and it doesn't matter whether it's actually qualified, qualified funds like an IRA. You can also put Roth in there, and you can also put what we call non-qualified money in there too. That's just an account type on how things are taxed. But when you actually put money into an annuity, we use fixed indexed annuities here at Safe Harbor. So here's the nice part about it. When the market's negative, the worst you ever do is make zero. So we all, so a lot of times, zero's our hero, right?
Because you're not going to lose money when the market's down 20%, like it was last year. You're not going to lose anything.
That's exactly right.
You just won't have a gain that year. But if the market's up 10%, you're going to participate in some of those gains.
That's correct. Now, one of the benefits of the Fed raising interest rates, Tony, is a lot of these fixed indexed annuities right now have some great what we call participation rates. Really all we're talking about is what percentage, if an index goes up 10%, what percentage do you receive of that, right? That's what that participation rate would be. So if you have 100% participation, if that index that you're invested in goes up 10%, then you make 10%. So what we're seeing right now with some of these indexes is some of these indexes are anywhere from 75% to over 100%, which means, yes. So because one of the nice things is when the interest rates go up, insurance companies can actually make more money off of the money because it has to be invested in safe investments, and interest rates have been going through the roof, which means that money that's being invested on the backside of that, they're making more money off of that as well.
So depending on how much you have in your situation, now might be a good time for someone, you're saying, to look at a fixed index annuity because you have principal protection. You can't lose money, but there are good participation rates and gains that can be had. And I know that the reason you focus on fixed index annuities for your clients is because those are, if they need something like that in addition to investments, those are little to no fees typically, no fees, and they have better rates of return and protection, right?
That's exactly right, Tony. I mean, just like with anything else, you don't want to put all of your money into the market with stocks. You don't want to put all your money into an annuity either. But there's nothing wrong with being a little bit diverse, right?
Yeah.
So you have a percentage over here, you have a percentage over here. Maybe on the market side, it makes a better return, but you have a lot of safety now with that annuity. So with the annuity also, Tony, you can do a couple things. One is you can do it more for accumulation, where you're just going to sit there and get have that money grow long term for you. Or you can also use it for lifetime income at some point in time too, where you can actually put money into that and you kind of create your own pension, which is, we've talked about that on the show many times as well. So I think it's something to really think about. This is a great time to be able to do that. It's the beginning of the year. If you're worried about the recession, maybe that's some place where you put a little bit of your money. And we can show you how that works. Of course, what we want to do is make sure you're educated before you do anything.
Yep.
So make sure you understand the product that you'd be invested into.
Yeah, that's huge. And I'm glad you said everybody's situation is different. You don't want to put 100% of your money into everything. 100% shouldn't be in stocks. 100% shouldn't be in annuity and insurance products. You got to have a balance.
Yeah, you do. You got to have a balance. And, the last thing I want to talk about, Tony, and, the pandemic kind of brought this about more than anything, when everyone went out of, lost jobs or jobs were delayed for a period of time. And that is you need to really make sure that you have an emergency fund that you're actually contributing to, right? If we do go into a recession, then there will be jobs lost. That's without a doubt. We're already kind of seeing that in the technology industry right now, right? I mean, everyone's been kind of dropping some money off. So, or not dropping money off, but people have been losing their jobs.
Yeah, Amazon Warehouse by Us I think they laid off thousands of people.
That's correct. Whether it's been Google or, I just read where, Dell just even dropped some people off. But if you go into recession, then people will lose jobs. And that's why it's so important to have about 6 months of what you, whatever your monthly budget is you want to be able to have that in savings to be able to help pay for that while you look for that other job. So I know it can be difficult to do that, but this is something that you really need to be able to do on a weekly basis until you get about 6 months of savings
built up
in order to pay those bills.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, this has been a great show. We're out of time, Corey. So before we go today, I'm sure our listeners say, hey, these plans sound great, these strategies. How can they get a hold of you to get their own plan in place?
Yeah, Tony, it's really easy for our listeners out there. Just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or just visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And again, when you visit our website or give us a call, you can schedule a complimentary no obligation meeting with us. We'll put a plan in place for you if you don't have one, and we'll be that second set of eyes to provide a second opinion if you do have one. Our goal is to make sure that you have a worry-free retirement, and the best way to do that is to have a financial plan in place. And again, all meetings with us are complimentary and no obligation. So just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Join us again soon for another episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Thank you for listening to Financially Fit Radio. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, contact Corey Sickles at Safe Harbor Retirement Group.
Call 614-760-0670 or visit their website at financiallyfitoh.com. Corey Sickles and Safe Harbor Retirement Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation.